Hello, everybody. What is happening? Happy Friday. Kevin Adams, Matt Ham. This is the Fearless Ones podcast, where we aim to unite fearless people, stand against evil, and lead a fearless generation. Amen, Kevin?
Amen. That's right.
Absolutely. Well, we're super excited for anybody who's jumping us on the or joining us on the live stream today. As many of you may be aware, we have been doing this broadcast now for a number of years under the title "Wake Up Our Faith," and with the new emergence of the Fearless Trading Company, which is our mission and movement. We have shifted to the Fearless Ones podcast. And so today is the first iteration of the Fearless Ones podcast. But no worries, all of the archive of Wake Up Our Faith, all of our teaching dynamics, 200 plus episodes are right here in the same thread. So you guys be sure to check that out. And Kev, man, it's good for a new season and a new face and a lot of exciting stuff ahead of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on out there, and it has been for a while. But nothing's changed. So, in a sense, but it brings people closer to God and closer to what's real and true and good. And we've been holding the line on this for a while. So, but things do change and evolve in micro uh, areas. So what we're doing is we're updating and we're bringing a new message. We're still going to talk about things that are on the world stage and news, but we're going to teach people and help people, encourage people, inspire them to live fearlessly through those things, so that you can see the good outcome and what God's up to in you. So that's
Yes.
kind of where we're going and what we're aiming to do, today.
Yeah, this kind of phrase "rally the troops" kind of thing continues to resonate in my heart and spirit, just about the concept of uniting fearless people. I think one of the things that many people are interested in right now is finding people who share common interests, common vision, common conviction, which is a big word for us, a big word that you use to speak about the work we do. And so this podcast is really a voice for those people, those fearless
Right.
people. And so wanting to make sure that folks know that there's more than just a podcast here. We have a dynamic community around the work that we do through our coffee programs, through our cottage industry programs, our nonprofit, with the Life Center. We're going to be talking about that later in the show. But, today, Kevin, the show title is "What Do You Offer the World That No One Else Can?"
Yeah.
And it goes along this theme of what we've been talking about here recently, about how people can begin to get beyond this feeling of owing somebody something, and what they can bring or offer to the world as a way to honor God and to live out their gifts. And so, fire away with what's been on your heart this week.
Well, last show we asked 4 questions, and this is kind of the last one, but we're jumping into it a little bit. And these are things that come from just my life experience, but also working with people and seeing themes and patterns, and that's just one of the ways God speaks to me. So those questions are a good launch point for a lot of topics, but it all circles back around to, why we're here, and that's the greatest question in human history. I mean, if you're an atheist, you probably want to know how you got here, but we know that. So we move to number two, and that is, why are we here?
Hmm.
Why are we here, Papa? What did you do? And I think a lot of people talk about that, but they don't really understand that, like, this is for real. So first thing is, when you have pain and struggle, you have to make that decision. But that question, what do you have to offer? It's fantastic. What do you have to offer the world? What problem or mankind solution can you bring? And then what type of person does your heart bend toward to help? So it's specific, but then here's the thing, right? Here's the last point. What do you have to offer the world? And then give it a pause, and then to finish the question, it's that no one else can.
Hmm.
And really let that sink in your heart. That's where people need to go, that no one else can. People are worried about money and all these different things. You are your own currency, and
Hmm.
it's ahead. It's been ahead, but we're coming into that, and people are starting to recognize this. So
Yeah.
again, we're just going to speak back to it and encourage them forward.
Well, it's as we said, this is not a news broadcast, but we use news and current events. We've been talking about those kinds of things over the last couple of years, I guess, since we've been in this environment. And the environment around us is you called it previously a birthing season, and these are the birthing pains, and that God is using these things to birth new things into the world. And sometimes people pay attention to those things. Sometimes they don't. And so, this week, with all that's been in the news of what's going on, in Western Europe with Russia and Ukraine, a lot of people have been asking questions. Oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? Or they're just glazed over and going, well, this doesn't really. But I think that it's important to say that the world around us is continuing down a path, and we have to make a decision. Where are we going to stand, and are we going to become the person that God has called us to be, and ultimately kind of get in line and get in alignment with that. And that's ultimately the invite for anyone who may be wondering what's going on. I think it's an
Right.
open offer from the Father to get in alignment with who He is and who He made you to be.
Yeah. Well, listen, let me speak to this whole Ukraine stuff. Just anybody that cares or is listening. Jesus said not to worry about wars and rumors of war. So there's your checkpoint right there. So get on with your life. Forget about this stuff. If it bothers you, turn the TV off or whatever you watch. In my personal opinion, we are zapping the deep state. We're getting rid of the labs and the garbage that's over there. These evil people have taken that place and they use it as their business operation. This is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And so that's my personal opinion. If you want to have your own about it, that's fine. But it lines up with what Jesus said. You're going to hear war and rumors of war. What do you do with that? You sit around and chomp at the bit over it, or you get on with what you're here to do.
Mm.
And that's my challenge to anyone who comes in contact with me, because that's what's important. Every day you're here is more valuable than the day before because you have fewer of them. What are you going to do with that? So to back off of that, though, and regroup in a way that it becomes more personal, we have to remember something very, very important. And that is the idea that you do have something to offer, and be encouraged by that. And you cannot, you just can't walk away from this and be a Christian. You can try, but at some point you've got to do the thing God put in your heart to do. So how you get to that, how do you answer that? What gets you there? That's what we want to explore a little bit today, because it's a lot to it.
Well, I love what you said earlier about you are your own currency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a concept with circumstantial inflation and all this, and new currencies evolving. And I think that there's really resonant power in this idea that God made you, and that His unique genius is in you for such a time as this, for your geography, etc. And so that uncovering that, developing that, and deploying that into the world is the most fulfilling thing that one can do.
Absolutely. So you have to think, if you're made in God's image, then what does that mean? Does that mean we look like Him physically? I mean, we kind of look like Jesus. I mean, I heard He was short, so I don't know, but we do. I mean, God came and became flesh, and we look like that. But God is spirit, and Jesus isn't walking around here in the flesh anymore. He lives in us, and He said, "If I love this," but people just don't see it. He says, I'll tear this temple down in 3 days. I'll build it again. He told the Pharisees to do that. And of course, they didn't know what He was talking about. They called Him a blasphemer. He was very offensive to people. And but He didn't take offense to anyone. He didn't let it get in. So But why did he say that? So that's not just about death, burial, and resurrection for Jesus. It is a symbol of where things are headed. It's within us, outward. All right.
Mm.
So when what we're doing is we're helping people understand who they are internally. Look at it this way. How many, think about the term life center. We can come back to this, but it does matter. I'm just kind of flowing with this here, but life center, center of life.
Mm.
Where is the center of your life? Is it your circumstances or is it your spirit? It's your spirit, right?
Amen.
Jesus lives in you. Okay. So life center, rather than it being a building, it is a process, but it comes from somewhere. How many people do we have scurrying around trying to get people in church buildings?
Mm.
What we are not trying to do, but are doing, is we're teaching people that the church is in you, and what you build is an extension of it.
Yes.
So it's built on the right thing. So we're not trying to get people in buildings. We're trying to, and doing, helping people understand who they are outward. So it's a time of spirit and truth worship. It means we can worship wherever we are. Everything we do needs to be the church inside out. And that's the difference. People waiting on a building or a campus, which we will have all that one day, we're helping people understand this. And we want them to, and we'll talk about how that interacts with Fearless. But the idea starts with discipleship. Okay, we call it mentoring, coaching, teaching, whatever it is. So people have to go through this process so they begin to, because it's not happening in those buildings, by the way. People think it is, but it's just not. If it, the evidence is there, you'd see it. Divorce rate 70%. 70% of Americans are on some kind of pharmacy, something or other. So that's just two. It doesn't work. Worship is great. Congregation is great. What isn't working is helping people understand their value and how to live it out the way God teaches us, which is consider the birds. You have so much value in you. So if you think about God put you here right now, I'm getting to a point. What is the first thing that comes to your mind? What is the first thing? If you stop, really quit quoting and just Christianese and all that stuff, and just answer the question: do you believe there's a God? Do you believe he's smarter than you, more powerful than you, and he put you here right now in these circumstances? What does that mean? What does that absolutely mean? There's a simple answer, and we can take that and launch from there. And I'm not saying you have to answer it, but most people don't really know. They haven't been taught this. It's not being smarter or not. It's helping people understand that, getting away from these toxic thought patterns that we just don't even see in Scripture.
Yeah.
So, and jump in. I know I'm rambling here, but
no. Well, I mean, you're birthing ideas, and that's incredibly valuable. I think one of the things that I feel as you're talking through this is we see people in history who have done something that we would say, oh man, that person is living out their purpose, right? Like that person is doing the thing they were made to do. Right. But that's for them, and I'm just gonna be this guy. Yeah. And so they don't slow down to recognize that the idea that God himself is not a mechanism to get you to behave or a sociological connection point to be in community with people. He is literally a father who created you to birth his kingdom on the earth through the uniqueness that he made you for. And that's where people, like difficult situations, seasons, circumstances, external environments, sometimes that is the only thing that's going to force people to enough of an impasse. I remember when you wrote, Kevin, the your first teaching book with YouPrint, Learning to Feel the Word, which I've got one on my desk copy right here. You talk about the fork in the road being clear, and the reality is many people kind of have set up camp at the fork in the road. And so what we are saying is
true.
The fork in the road is clear. And we have to go in that direction. That is that process of being discipled, birthing out that purpose, following where the Lord leads. And that's the work that we do. So when you get someone, Kevin, who wants to say, okay, I'm going to sit with that question, where does the process begin? I know that's the mentoring process, but carrying out that thought, where are we guiding folks to today?
Well, there's a lot to that, and people are all different where they are, but the discernment and wisdom comes in. But today, and going back to the question, just today, try to get this idea answered for yourself and then expand on it. Take the time. Don't just glaze over it, right? But take the time to ask yourself, why did God put me here right now? Because if you don't believe that he did that and he just slung us out here and who knows what, then we're way off on a different page.
Yeah.
So, but most people are going to agree. I asked somebody recently, he was talking about godly leadership, and I said, well, what is godly leadership? Where do you see it? I said, I don't see much of it around here. I'm just going to get on with it, but I got a Christianese answer. Christ flowing through you and all that. I'm like, well, what does that mean? And he didn't answer it. He couldn't answer it. So I challenged him and I said, look in scripture. And I started naming people. I said, that's godly leadership. What do they have in common? Noah, Daniel, Gideon, Esther, Deborah, Mary, John, Peter, Paul, Nehemiah. Stephen, we could name them over and over. What do they have in common? They recognize something, that they're here for some reason. All right. So when you think about that, when you think about uniqueness, that's your uniqueness is your ability to innovate. Right? Innovate. Now let's go over what else do you need? Think about David and Goliath. David killed Goliath in the simplest way possible. That was innovation. Okay, so we're not talking about just business building and all that. We're talking about you have something in you that God put there for now. But just quoting the book of Esther, it starts to go, for such a time as this, everybody starts saying it and it loses the value of it. So we're pressing into that. So innovation plus courage. Now, courage is, I believe courage ultimately derives from conviction. It self-perpetuates, but let's put it a different way. Innovation, something unique, and a little bit of courage to keep stepping into it equals your conviction. So when you have conviction, you can lead. If you do not have conviction, you won't be able to lead. And when you truly lead, all boats rise. And that's not an easy job. And it's, you don't see much of it because the enemy uses fear to press in on people. And they forget, guess what? God put me here now, not in 1700 or 200 years from now. I'm here right now. Dude, that means something to me. That means God took the time, thought me up, thought you up, put us here right now. And I'm going to give him credit for that, but I'm going to move beyond credit and honor that. That's what's missing. And it can't happen in 3 songs and a prayer on a Sunday where people want to go back to Egypt and sit in the daggone pew instead of get up and be the church. All right. I know people get mad at me for this. I don't care. Go. But get up. Your whole life is supposed to be this thing. And we are coming into a time where you can't survive if you don't have this in you.
Yeah.
Surviving. So the bottom line to that question is God's intention. God has intention. He put you here with intention. You are his intention for this moment in this place. And let's get through all the variables. You cannot debate this and call God good because there's no value outside of that. We have nothing to offer God, but boy, we have everything to offer him, that we owe him, right? Because he made us priceless. He paid the price, so we got to get on and honor that. That means preparation. That's where people go, I give up. Think about this, but think about the word intention. Intention. God's intention, right? We have Part of the teaching is you are God's idea. Read Psalm 139, and if you can walk away and think you're not his idea, you're not really reading scripture. So you have to understand this. You matter to God so much that he made you, he put you here right now. So what intention ultimately means is there is a plan. It also means you get to choose it or not, and you get to follow it or not. And if you choose not to follow it, that's up to you. I mean, that goes back to the idea: do you want a mediocre life? Do you want a life of comfort or a life of impact? And the gravity of comfort is mediocrity, and that's where most people stay. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying you're too valuable. Get up. Let's go. Quit worrying about what you're going to lose. That's what's missing that we see in the people in Scripture. Go ahead.
To that point of what you're going to lose, I know you've been sharing this recently, talking about it. I just wanted to offer the opportunity to bring it up on the show because it's something that people can relate to because they've seen it, experienced it, whatever. This scene from Braveheart with William Wallace.
Right.
You've been talking about that a lot lately. I know shared it with people in our community. You shared it with, me personally. And there's this speech that he gives that is the most famously quoted speech from Braveheart, where they are up against, you got it on your phone?
Yeah.
Read it out.
I'm not going to do it in a Scottish voice, although definitely got some of that in me, even going back to those guys. But yeah, man. And I, not to interrupt you, I just wanted you to know, yeah, we can read it. Check out that clip. It's called the Freedom Speech. You get on YouTube. It's only like 4 minutes. I mean, it's nothing. Take time and listen to it. It's all, in the movie is so good, which, hey guys, we need to get together and watch the crap out of that thing, by the way.
Yeah.
But he basically says, these guys are saying we're going to run. We'll live if we run. This is not worth it. And man, how many people do we see like that? And that's where people are going back to Egypt. I just want my comfort back. All right, so William Wallace, right? I mean, I know this is the movie, but it's so good. He says, I fight and you may die. Run and you'll live at least a little while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom? Watch it, man. It'll give you chills. And I mean, everybody's a Braveheart fan, but I'm just pulling it back up for a minute and saying we're at this moment right now.
Right.
And I'm going to be that guy, because what honors God isn't me running away from what he put in front of me. What honors God is getting up and getting on with it, and quit trying to herd people into a little weird building. Help them grow outward and build things and create new things and honor Jesus with that. That's what's missing. And I'm not going to shy away from it, but anyway, that's his speech. Let's get on with it.
The reality is, when you sent that, I said, man, Jesus is a lot more like William Wallace than I probably ever thought he was. And that's the reality. I think we go, oh, well, William Wallace was crass and was rough. And no, he actually offended the establishment, because the establishment was in bed. And to that end, in that movie, Robert the Bruce is such a representative picture of so many people in culture right now,
right,
who would rather take a bribe or the money from the establishment, rather than stand up for what their conviction is, going back to conviction. And ultimately what happens in the movie is Robert the Bruce has a conviction of the heart, where he realizes that he has abandoned, this message and thing of freedom. And so I love that as it correlates to what we're talking about today. And in the relation to that movie, we all have that William Wallace thing in us, and our specific thing to stand up and fight for, that specific call, going back to what you said, is recognizing these convictions on your heart, and then what you can bring to the table to birth that out. I just really want to challenge people to visualize this, sit with this, receive this, and then begin to let God birth out of you through the Spirit what it is that He's saying.
Yeah, you are here on purpose. Now, I hate the words because it sounds it's so worn out.
Yeah.
But so the only thing you can do is slow down and really, really go there with God, your Father, and be intimate and think about this. He put you here right now. This is your playing field. Maybe it has sand spurs and it's a dirt field. Maybe it's not what you wish it was. But you can either get up and play well and honor what He's given you. What an honor to be here right now in this time. You know, hey, look, you're only good if you're good when it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, and a little bit of pain is good for you. It teaches us to endure. We've got to quit all the complaining and whining and worrying. It's ridiculous. We got to get on. I tell you what, if we don't do this, if we don't do Life Center idea, and we just keep herding people back for a Sunday experience, we will lose this next generation. No question. But if we do this, we will have 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds walking around with the kind of wisdom that I have. And being able to discern things years out. Now, forget me. I'm just saying I'm 55 years old. Imagine a 10-year-old talking like this. That's what we can do by leading them through this moment and raising up a generation like that who's not worried about building more places to dump money that don't change people's lives, but who can build cottage industries and be incredible human beings, all honoring Jesus. Yes, get together and break bread, but live it, you know?
Yeah. To your point there about the concept. Oh gosh, I just lost my thought.
Sorry.
You were. I was meant to write it down, but I was writing down what you were saying. I losing the generation. There we go.
Yeah.
One of the things that church culture always talks about is how there is the generational gap, right? That they are losing the next generation. That, you know, I mean, I even had somebody personally reach out this past week from a local congregation, and the language was, you know, our church is dying. Everyone in our congregation has white hair and is probably 10 or 12 years away from dying, and we don't have a vibrant young population. And when they die, what do we do, right? And so we're saying something that is already being talked about in culture, but instead of instituting programs and attractions and, you know, popularity kind of things, you know, getting Justin Bieber to come do a concert, we're saying that is, that we have to begin to recognize that the way to get the generation behind me, right, the next generation, is to truly let them know that they were made for something, help them discover what that is, pour into that, and then help them birth that out, but not just do it for the glory of Instagram famous. Do it because that's who God made you to be. Connecting those two dots is where this whole dynamic is, and that's what is going to shift in our culture.
Yeah, you have to grab hold of one simple idea. You are here by God's intention. What do you do with that? You cannot dismiss this. You can get back onto your job and your comfort or whatever, and that is being stirred up, and thank God for it.
Yeah.
But I consider it a privilege, whether I live another day or however many more years. This is why I'm here. I know it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you got to follow. Listen, here's the thing. You're here by His intention. Following Him is a whole lot easier than figuring this out. And here's the other thing. We have to learn. This is one of the key things. We have to learn to expect God to be good. And we can take that and in small to bigger doses. If you can't believe it, you have to start somewhere. And we talk about hyper focus and being able to be joyful for 5 minutes, extremely joyful over something and thankful, and focus. These are just, there's so much. I mean, there's a whole freaking PhD kind of volumes worth of stuff to teach people. But what we want to be able to do is help them where they are, from soup to nuts, mentor them spiritually, because that is not happening in any institution of man. Right now, all the institutions are melting, but what isn't melting is the Lord and his Spirit. That is powerful. It's a consuming fire and it's living within us. So we have to begin to tear the temple down and let him build it back, but it's going to be built a different way. And people don't see it because they're so wrapped up in steeples and buildings and, well, that's where people are. It doesn't matter. Pioneer. Listen, here's a thought. Imagine, I've said this, been saying this a lot lately, but Noah did not design the ark. He patiently built what God designed. And it took years. Imagine if Noah had been impatient, easily offended, and complaining. I mean, if he was that type of person, what would he be doing with his assignment?
Yeah.
He'd just be pissed off and like a little baby. And like, God's given us something great. So, look, you need to protect your family. You need to be a good steward. But that's not the first rule here. Those are outer rings that you do from wisdom. So what we want to do is help people understand that God made you. And this is encouraging. If you're offended by it, go away. I can't help you. We can't help you. If you want more of it, there is so much here. And we got all these rich guys running around town. They just want the next big thing, or they want comfort. If they would just sow into this thing and understand this. Look, I've already lived through it. I know what I'm talking about. I know God, and there's nothing like him. But we've got to stop trying to herd people into a place and start helping them live from the inside out and build things that honor God. And that's where you get a life center. It's a process that has output. So it'll happen. All right. But I got 3 quick things I want to walk through here to help people understand that. I know I'm preaching a little bit, but it's important to grab hold of this. So you have to have conviction. So the discipleship process, if we overuse that word, people think, oh, I know what it is. And most people don't know what it is. We've talked about this, for a month now or two, just like, you don't even know what it is. They just kind of got question mark. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go disciple people, but you don't even know what it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, they think discipleship is becoming theologically sound, right?
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah. But it's really about pressing into the idea that God put you here right now and learning why, and forgetting how you carry that out. We have to learn to let go of the how. That's where we lose our minds over. Well, how? What about this? And we live in the how outside of today, and it turns into just fear. So it's not about how. God is the how. It's about why. And when you start going there, you can do it in small steps. But rather than getting into that too deep today, because I know I get all over the place, but here's a couple things that just to walk through. And again, this is all mentoring. We want to have tons of people that do what I do and help people get that place where they feel excited about their future, no matter what's going on around them, because they're here by intention. That means God knows what he's doing. That means there's a game plan and you have to uncover it. You can't do it by howling him to death. You have to do it by saying, I'm in, Lord, show me more, and knock, ask, seek like a little kid, being excited, and start practicing in small steps. All right, here's the 3 things. And I pulled some of these out of the cleanse because, there's so much here and you got to keep me in line. But Three things, just three quick things. Take this away. You've become willing to be considered a fool by the world and live by his standards, come what may. Okay? You're willing to be considered a fool by other people. That's important. And that ain't just Kevin saying that. Jesus says that in so many ways in all his compadres. But they demonstrate it. All those people who are godly leaders, bingo, right? You want to be like Paul or, Paulette, whoever, famous preacher. All right. So one, you become willing to be considered a fool by the world and live by his, capital H, his standards, no matter what. That's the key. The second thing is you accept that real faith must be fastened to a fall, and that your only option for growth is approaching that fall with a concentrated focus on the victorious outcome. So imagine jumping out of a plane, which I've done, and I didn't do it tandem. I did it by myself. Imagine jumping out of a plane. You have to know that that chute's going to open, but you have to take the chance that it might not. That's faith, okay? It's not how God, oh, I need to know everything in the future. No, that's not faith. That's milk. And it doesn't lead. It stagnates and complains. All right, here's the third one. You practice your faith by setting tangible goals. And I've been talking about this a lot lately. Practice your faith by setting tangible goals. It means small, right? And prepare for reaching those goals by crossing a series of lines. And those lines are like your footsteps, okay? This has context, so if I read it, some of it won't make sense. But okay. You want to cross those lines through a two-step faith development process. All right, so with each new goal, the first step acknowledges the danger and cost going forward. The second step counts the cost of not going forward. Now that's a lot, but if you imagine yourself, you're heading to the door of the plane and you're going to jump out. In this metaphor, you have to move, right? You have to move forward. You have to take one step, then the second step, one step, then the second step. That's how your body moves forward. So you have to count the cost of this. You have to count the cost honestly. If I do this, I might die. If I don't do it, I will surely die spiritually. So you keep moving, keep crossing lines. These are tangible spiritual goals, just one step, two step, one step. And that may be how that translates. That might be, if you want to make something cool out of wood that you realized you're really good at, then stop everything. Quit worrying about 2 weeks from now and make something cool. Dream with God, make something, dream it up, or think of a new business, whatever it is, start there. And instead of making excuses about it, keep it small. And then look back and say, hey, I did it. And then you get on with the next thing. All right. So those are three good ways to step into this idea that you are God's intention. And once you get a hold of that and you practice it, it'll start happening, and you will start seeing him come through, and he'll do things that are impossible. And people go, well, how'd you do that? I didn't. Yeah. We didn't. He's doing it because he is good.
The thing that hit me with all of this, Kevin, is that we have become such a consumer culture, and all we're looking for is just new information. And yet information alone doesn't change anything. We said it a couple years ago, drowning in information and starve for wisdom, right? That was something that came through. And yet here we are, people, many of us people, we're just looking for the next bit of information. Give me the nugget, give me the pill to take, give me the fast food, but that doesn't change anything. What actually changes something is sitting with the Father, sitting with the information and
Mhm.
actually co-laboring with God to
Right.
bring about this designed purpose. And
Yeah.
that concept is foreign to a lot of Christian folks because we've become so conditioned to going by and picking up the doggy bag that's going to feed us for a little bit instead of
Right.
actually say, hey, I'm going to give you the ingredients to make a cake that will not only feed you, but then you'll be able to replicate it, feed yourself down the road. And so just to say that out loud to our listeners, to those who watch or whatever, is it's not just about a quick quote or a quip or some kind of
Right.
clever words. This is intended to be practiced and lived out and worked through in your own
Right.
life with the Lord. Or if you want to pursue that with us, we offer those services through our mentoring program.
Right.
But either way, you've got to get busy doing it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I don't know who said that. I think I quoted it from a Danny Silk book, but the idea has been around a while. We are drowning in information and we're starving for wisdom.
Mhm.
So I don't know where it came from, but I know it resonates with me. Yeah, we've talked about it over the years. But the bottom line is God gives us something that's greater than the world.
Mm.
So humanism takes us off into intellect and man's best and what he can do, and it's ridiculous. It fails. We're seeing it happen
Yeah,
around us.
we're
The
watching it.
thing that doesn't fail, and even in churches, and I'm so glad to see this. There are mega pastors that are just, man, they're doing some bad stuff. These guys, some of them, I'm not saying all of them, but what is real is Jesus in us, poured out around us in the unique way. And so Barnabas sells his field. Our version of Barnabas selling his field and bringing it so that none would have need, that's the church. But the thing that no one can take away from us is who we are. God put genius in us. And it doesn't matter. One person can think it's not. None of that matters. What matters is you have things in you that you love to do, you're great at, and they just work. The days of dismissing all that stuff are over.
Mm.
And your gift will put you before kings. And read Ephesians. I mean, God's really showing us this is what unity comes from. It does not come from hurting people before some holier than thou master. It's about doing this together. It does need leadership and structure, and that's in scripture too. But anyway, enough of that. Your God's intention, grab hold of that. So whenever you get up, just consider the idea and go, what do you have to offer? Quit saying I don't, and oh, who knows? Purpose, it's always out of reach. Stop saying that. That's first step. Second step is remember you have something to offer the world, and God put you here to carry it out. He doesn't make you understand it. He lets you learn it, and he prepares you to carry it out. People hate it, but
Yeah.
that's your choice. But it's so good. He prepares you, the endurance, the pain, the things you go through. So impact or comfort, that's your choice. If you choose comfort, great. It's like the Matrix. I don't. I choose impact.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's with me, right?
Absolutely, man. Well, Kev, I know we're wrapping up today's show, and we want to make mention just to let folks know that if they want more, if they want to engage further, they certainly can do that. They can reach out to us, info at uprint.life, youprint.life. For the Fearless brand, which is kind of the tip of the spear, as you call it, as we head into culture. It's fearlesstradingcompany.com. Coffee, cottage industries, kind of a mission. I know you wanted to speak to that. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
keeping an eye on our time here. So I'll let you speak to
Yeah.
that as we wrap up.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk more about it. So there'll be plenty. We've got to get the message out much better. But there's only a few of us right now. So, but think of the Life Center as a process. It hasn't gone away. It's only helped more and more people. But what it has to disciple people first. They have to be spiritually trained to understand who they are. And from there, The Life Center will be a place that trains them, seeds their businesses, helps them carry out purpose. So any industry you can think of, from textiles to, artisanry, craftsmanship, any of that kind of stuff, business building, engineering, all of that's the future. But we're going to train people spiritually first and then help them carry that out, so that some single mom who could fix the hurricane problem isn't working 3 jobs and not doing what God put her here to do. We're going to stop that and get her doing the things she's meant to do. And that's why we need not just financial help, but we need people who are all in, and instead of trying to do things that aren't really changing lives. Okay, so Fearless, how does Fearless play into that? Well, Fearless is the tip of the spear. We've created a brand, and it's a fabulous brand, and it stands for something, to unite fearless people, to stand up to evil, and to lead the next generation by example. And there's way more to that. But Fearless is a brand where the people that come from Life Center, that come out of this process, have a brand that they can either create their own cottage industries for. Whatever you want to do, you can plug it in to the Fearless brand, as long as it's excellent quality and as long as it comes from your heart. Or you can partner with us. Your business can. And that's what we're doing, all this already. So people looking for buildings and all this, it's going to happen, but it happens this way. So Fearless is the tip of the spear, and it helps the Life Center grow. It self-perpetuates. We're not just trying to hawk good coffee. We're trying to grow a brand that will help people not only be spiritually mentored into maturity, but come out living out who they are in any industry they want to do or create, innovate.
Yeah. Well, Fearless is it's the billboard, if you will, for the process of Life Center, which is the developing of people in their giftings, spiritually developing them, helping them discover what they were made for, and then helping them deploy that into the world. So Fearless is both the doorway in which they enter into the discipleship mentoring process, but it is the expression by which they can pour that back out into the world. And so, just love what God's done in building this. It's like you said, Noah did not design the ark. He built what God showed him.
That's right.
And that's the process that we have carried out over these last, 5-6 years now. And God continues to breathe on it. And it's just awesome to see people who are waking up and ready for this and eager and sharing that vision. And so, if that's you and you're listening, this is the family, and we're here, and would love to walk it out with you, and appreciate you being a part of this and continuing to invite more people to jump in.
But here, let me throw this out. Last thing, remember this. It's much better to follow what God's plan is for you, to find out, because it's already blessed. That's our business model. Dig into God. Throw away all the toxic stuff that you learned growing up or whatever. Recognize you're here by his intention. Don't you think he's going to give you success in that? If you follow that, you cannot fail. And the kingdom will be forwarded. The church will grow, but it'll grow the right way. But think about that. It's already blessed. Don't you want a business plan that's already blessed? Follow that. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, friends, thanks so much for tuning in. Of course, this is the first episode of the Fearless Ones podcast, but it's a continuation of the work we've been doing for the past few years through Wake Up Our Faith. So many thanks to everybody who joined us today. Again, connect with us online, fearlesstradingcompany.com. You can reach out to Kevin or I via info@uprint.life. Many thanks to everybody who tuned in today and shared this out. Kev, final thoughts, man? Peace out.
Peace out. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you.
Absolutely, friends. You guys have a great week.